Can you see the screen, students?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. You switch on your videos. Yes, students, switch on your videos quickly. All right. So in the previous class, I had completed the variety of endocrine glands that are there. And today we're going to see what other organs they work as the glands or something that secretes the hormones. So the hormones of the heart, kidney, and the GI tract, that is gastrointestinal tract. So we know that endocrine glands, they have their secretion, which is called as the hormone, and which is a chemical secretion. Now, apart from the endocrine gland, there are certain other glands in our body that have this potential of secreting certain, you can say, hormones, which is very important. For example, the atrial walls of our heart secretes a very important peptide hormone, meaning a protein hormone called as atrial natriuretic factor, ANF. Now, this atrial natriuretic factor, it is like whenever there is an increase in the blood pressure, sudden increase. So these hormones will be released, because of which the pressure will decrease. Now, when the pressure is increased, the ANF is secreted, which causes the dilation of blood vessels. The blood vessels that were very constricted, because of which the blood flow was very quick. But then, with the dilation of the blood vessels, the pressure also gets reduced. So the first one, from the heart, and atrial natriuretic factor comes along. After that, there is the juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney. So kidney has specialized cells called as juxtaglomerular cells, and they produce a peptide hormone. Peptide again means proteinaceous. So it produces a proteinaceous hormone, which we call as erythropoietin. And this erythropoietin will cause or start or stimulate erythropoiesis, that is the formation of RBC. So whenever there is a decrease in the number of RBC in the body, the erythropoietin is released so as to, you can say, increase the number of RBC by doing erythropoiesis. Now, endocrine cells present in different parts of the gastrointestinal tract, they secrete four major peptide hormones: gastrin, then there is secretin. Okay, so first one is gastrin, then secretin, cholecystokinin, then gastric inhibitory peptide. So these hormones, they are actually secreted by this particular, you can say, the gastrointestinal tract. Now they each have their own particular function to perform, and they do variety of stuff. Okay. How? The first thing is that they stimulate the secretion of hydrochloric acid. Okay, hydrochloric acid is the HCl, and we know that is important for the digestion of food. Am I audible, student?
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So my laptop got stuck in the middle. So we were talking about the other hormones that are released that are not endocrine in nature, but still they have their set of functions that they perform. So when we talk about the particular, like the last hormone that we were talking about was the hormones from the GI tract, that is the gastrointestinal tract. So can you see the screen, students? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So the hormones of the gastrointestinal tract, such as the gastrin, the secretin, the cholecystokinin, and the gastric inhibitory peptide, These are the ones that would stimulate the secretion of hydrochloric acid, making it possible for the better digestion of food to take place. Secretin would act on the exocrine pancreas and stimulate the secretion of water and bicarbonate ions. This cholecystokinin, it acts on the pancreas as well as the gallbladder and causes the release of the pancreatic enzymes as well as the bile juice respectively. The gastric inhibitory peptide, this one, it inhibits the secretion from the gastric gland, right? It does not let the secretion take place. Now, there are other several other neuroendocrine, like non-endocrine tissues also, such as the growth factors. Hello, am I audible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, we were talking about the hormones from the different areas. So, we saw that how, even though they are not amongst the endocrine gland, but still they have so much to perform, and that is how they function. Clear? Now, moving forward, talking about what these mechanism of hormone action is. See, hormones, they are regulated or they act depending upon the receptor, and the thing is that the first thing that happens, that a signal binds with the receptor, okay, and it generates the signal so as to make it easy for the transportation or the recognition of the signal to happen. Now, can you see the screen, students? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
No. So, yeah, so we were talking about the mechanism of hormone action. So, the hormones, they produce their effects on target tissues by binding to specific proteins, which we call as hormone receptors. So, in our body, the receptors for hormones are already present. Now, these hormones come and then they bind with the receptor, causing the different mechanisms in the body. So, these receptors, now you people understand what is the meaning of receptor?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, what is the meaning of a receptor? See, receptor is basically, imagine it like a protein which will be responsible for getting the responses and then acting accordingly to the responses. So, hormone receptors, they are present on the cell membrane of the target cells. So, we call them as the membrane bound receptors. So, receptors, they are actually of two types. They can be present on the membrane or inside. So, the ones that are present on the membrane, we call it as membrane bound receptors, and the receptors that are present inside the target cell, we call it as intracellular receptor. Intra means within, cellular means the cell. So those receptors that are within the cells, we call them as intracellular receptors. So mostly where are they present if they are present inside the cell? So mostly they are present in the nucleus. So the binding of the hormone to its receptors lead to the formation of the hormone receptor complex. So as soon as the hormone comes and it binds with the receptor, a hormone receptor complex is formed. Now, after this hormone receptor complex are formed, always remember that every receptor is very, very specific to the type of hormone that is coming. Okay, for example, proteinaceous hormone, steroid hormone, iodine hormones. So, it is very specific to every single kind of hormone that is coming. So, hormone receptor complex formation, it leads to certain biochemical changes, the target tissue metabolism, and after that, what will happen? The physiological functions, they are regulated by hormones. So imagine the different hormones that you have studied, depending upon their origin or depending upon their chemical nature. So we have proteinaceous hormones. They are also known as polypeptide hormones. They can also be called as peptide hormones, meaning that these hormones are directly proteins. Example, this part, this like these 4 points, they are very important from the exam's point of view. Okay. So insulin, glucagon, all the pituitary hormones, then all the hypothalamic hormones, these are all proteinaceous in nature. Proteinaceous meaning that it is of, like, it is made up of protein or it is protein in general. Then comes steroid hormones. Steroid hormones, these are the ones that are derived from cholesterol. Okay, the hormones that are derived from cholesterol, we call them as the steroid hormones. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see this? Can you see the screen, students?
Yes, ma'am. We can see it.
All right. So now, when we were talking about the mechanism of hormone action, we had to also discuss about the nature of the hormone. So, like I said, the steroids. Now, the steroidal hormones, they are derived from the cholesterol. The examples for which are cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, and progesterone. All of these hormones that you see, these are derivatives of cholesterol. Then there are certain hormones that are called as the thyroid hormone. They are derivatives of iodine, like T3 and T4. You people have studied that we get from the thyroid gland. Then there are certain hormones that are derivatives of amino acid, such as the epinephrine. So each of these hormones, they have their own particular nature, which we say that it is their chemical nature. Always remember, chemical nature means this is how, like maybe because of certain functional groups, or maybe because of the nature that, or the particular chemical that they have been derived from. Now, the hormones that interact with the membrane-bound receptors, they do not enter the target cell, meaning the membrane-bound receptors. For example, this is the membrane and here is the receptor. So this hormone which is coming over here, it will react with the membrane-bound receptor. Now it will not enter the target cell. Instead, it will make second, like this hormone will not come inside. No. Instead, it will generate secondary messengers. Secondary messengers will be the carriers of this information further. So, this is very important to remember. What are the names of certain secondary messengers? So, we have cyclic adenosine monophosphate, cyclic AMP, inositol phosphate, that is IP3, calcium ion. These are the secondary messengers. So have you people ever been to or seen that race in which people take one thing, give it to another, then another person runs with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? What is that race called as? It is, I think it is called as relay race, isn't it?
Relay, yes.
So imagine this particular hormone action like a relay race. So firstly, what is happening? That on the membrane bound receptor, meaning the receptor which is present on the membrane, the hormone is coming and getting like activated. And after that, what is happening? It will basically lead to the formation of secondary messages. Clear, students?
Yes.
Yes. Are you people able to hear my voice? Are you people able to hear my voice?
No, ma'am, your voice is not clear. It was clear before, but just now it got.
Is it now? Is it now?
No, ma'am, now also it's not.
Okay. See, as I was saying, when we talk about the particular receptor, so always remember that with the case of the membrane bound receptors, when we talk Am I audible, students? Talk about the particular receptor. So always remember that with the Okay, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. My internet, my laptop, all of it is. I'm sorry, students, for the disturbance. Yes, so as I was saying, always remember that whenever we are talking about the membrane bound receptors, so they will generate the secondary messengers, meaning they will lead to the formation of those messengers that will regulate the metabolism further. Now, the hormones which interact with the intracellular receptor, such as the steroid hormone, the iodine hormones, all of that. So they regulate gene expression. And in the case of the intracellular receptor, there is no secondary messenger being formed. The secondary messenger is only formed in the case of the membrane bound receptor. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So always remember, in the case of the membrane bound receptor mechanism, the secondary messengers will be taking place, and apart from that, the proteinaceous hormones, they will only enter this type of reception. But when we talk about the intracellular receptors, so the steroid hormones, the iodine hormones, they will enter this thing. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So this is the picture. If you can see here, this is the picture of how the membrane bound reception takes place. See, the receptor is present since it is a membrane bound, meaning it is attached onto the membrane. The hormone is coming, attaching onto the membrane, and generating a response, which will lead to the formation of the cyclic monophosphate or the calcium ion, all of that. Clear? So this is how it happens in the case of the, the membrane bound reception. And this second case, do you see how the receptor is present inside the nucleus? It's so deeply situated. So in these cases, the steroid hormones, the iodine derivative hormones, these will go directly inside to the part where the nucleus is present, or where the hormone receptor is present in the nucleus. So there is like a two different sets of mechanism which happens and which causes this particular hormone receptor complex to be formed. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So with this, we have come to the end of this particular chapter, that is chemical control and coordination. Now tell me, students, if you people have any doubts, anything that you want to ask? Have you people understood the hormone action mechanism?
Yes,
Who can explain how this particular mechanism happens? Tell me, who can explain? First, anyone explain the membrane bound hormone receptor complex? None of you. Students, am I audible? Yes, students, am I audible?
No, ma'am.
Yes, am I audible now? Yes or no?
Yes.
Ma'am.
Okay. Tell me whether you people have understood the hormone mechanism or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you've understood. Okay. Who can explain how the membrane bound reception happens? Hmm? Yes, say anyone can tell me. No one knows the answer. Hello, am I audible, students? Why is no one responding? Do you people know yes or no? Just tell me that much also. That ma'am, we have not understood, ma'am, we can't say. Say something at least. Students, am I audible to you? Yes or no? First of all, tell me that.
Yes, ma'am.
So why is no one answering? See, what happens in the membrane bound reception? Firstly, the receptors are present at the membrane. So, the hormones they come, they attach to the receptor because of which they generate a response. And that results into the formation of multiple, you can say, secondary messengers like IP3, cyclic AMP, calcium dipositive ions, and because of that, the secondary response is generated. So that is the case of membrane-bound reception. But when we talk about the intracellular reception, intracellular is when it happens or it is present inside the nucleus. Okay, so when it am I audible, students?
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
Is it clear now?
No, ma'am.
Like, how is it sounding? Tell me, what is the problem with it?
Ma'am, your voice is breaking in between.
Is it fine now, students?
No, ma'am.
Yes, am I audible now?
No, ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Okay. See, students. Yeah, so I was asking about the two types of receptors, membrane bound and intracellular. Do you people have any doubts in that? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
No doubts. Then why is no one explaining it to me? Tell me, anyone explain? Why is no one responding? What happened?
Ma'am, can you explain the last part for membrane-bound receptors?
See, in the membrane bound receptors, what happens? The receptor is actually present at the membrane. So, whenever the hormone will come and bind with the receptor, it will make a hormone dash receptor concept or complex, because of which a response will be generated. And that response will make the secondary messengers to come along. So, the secondary messengers now what they will do? They will generate the response further. So this is the case. It only happens in the membrane bound receptors and it only happens with the particular, you can say, the proteinaceous hormones. But when we talk about this particular, the steroid hormones or iodine hormones, so here what happens is that they are basically going inside the nucleus directly. So they do not need any secondary messengers. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is how we have completed the chapter chemical control and coordination. Now tell me, students, if you have any doubts anywhere. You can go through your book for 2 minutes and check if you have any doubts. Yes, did you find any doubts?
Ma'am, 1 second.
Check in your book. Erythropoiesis is the function, or you can say it is the process in which the RBC formation takes place. So, for example, if in our body there is a reduction of RBC, so during that, the hormone erythropoietin will be released so that it can stimulate or it can cause erythropoiesis. Erythropoiesis will be the formation of the RBCs. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Tell me what else?
No, nothing else.
Jobita, what about you?
Nothing, ma'am.
No doubts.
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I can believe that you people have understood everything very nicely. Okay, now tell me what is the next chapter that we should start?
Neural control and coordination.
Neural control and coordination. Okay, everyone wants to do that chapter only?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, wonderful. So we'll start with neural control and coordination only. See, as far as the neural control and coordination is concerned, it refers to just like how chemical control and coordination was there. Now we are going to see how this particular um, networking happens in our whole entire body with the help of the functional unit called as the neurons, right? So when we talk about the coordination, so basically it is the process in which our body knows how to do all the activities without lagging. Physical exercise and all of that thing, all of it comes under this. Okay, so the nervous system or the neural system, it is like one of the quickest coordination. Like whenever you listen to something, you quickly understand what you're listening to. Whenever you look at something, you quickly understand what you're looking at. So that is the case of neural control basically. Now, the like if we are talking about the neural control, you people should know what a neuron is. So a neuron is the functional unit or the structural unit of the nervous system. Just like how cell is the unit of life, same way neuron is the unit of our nervous system. Without neuron, nothing can happen, no impulse, nothing can happen. So the neural system, it is composed of very specialized cell. It is very, very specialized. Specialized in the sense that it can, like quickly understand, quickly detect what is happening around it. And with the help of this only, it is going to send the particular information to the whole entire body. Clear? So that is the how the neuron works. So it can detect, it can receive, it can transmit the signals. All of these things can be done with the help of a neuron. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Hmm. Now, see, obviously, depending upon the organism and their types, the complexity of the neuron or the nervous system, it would vary a lot. Because if you think about the lower invertebrates, now you people have studied animal kingdom. So in that you saw how the invertebrates, meaning those organisms that do not have a vertebral column, how they perform their functions, right? Even they have this sense of, you can say, nervous system in their body. So how do they perform the function? We are going to see that. Okay. Okay, can you see the screen, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So this is the case of the like the neurons and everything. So when we talk about that, so our nervous system, it is made up of neurons, and we know that they are highly specialized cells, or they are the cells that are extremely important as far as the nervous control is concerned. So when we talk about the neurons, so they can detect, they can receive, and they can transmit different kinds of stimuli. Stimuli is basically the information, or it is the signal. Okay, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now, the organization of the neurons, it would obviously vary a lot when we talk about the lower organism and the higher organism. Because in the case of lower organisms, since they do not have a lot of complexities in the bodies, so then what will happen? This particular neuron, it would be responsible for the it would be responsible for the conduction or the control of as much as organs or as much as signals that are concerned. Okay, but if we talk about the higher organisms, obviously the control and the coordination in terms of the higher organism, because of the neuron, it will be really, really, you can say, efficient. Okay, so this much is clear.
Yes, ma'am. But your voice is not very
Okay,
clear, ma'am.
very good. Now see, when we talk about the, yeah, is it still not clear?
No, ma'am, it's not clear.
Yes, am I audible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So, like I was saying, the hydra, the lower organism, it has a network of neurons present in it. It's not very specialized, but it does the work for it. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. When we talk about the insects, so they are a little more, you can say, advanced as compared to the hydra. So they would have the brain along with the ganglia, along with the neural tissues. When we talk about the ganglia, it is like a bunch of the nervous Yes, students, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, students. So we were talking about the neural control and coordination. So we saw how the lower organism, they don't have this property or as well as marked property as far as the coordination is concerned. Okay. So now when we talk about the human nervous system, so human nervous system out of all of the vertebrates that there are, okay, the human nervous system is one of the most, you can say, complex, and it is one of the most efficient nervous system that there is. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when we talk about the human nervous system, so it contains the neuron, it contains the nerves that are associated with it. Then, apart from that, there are so many different organs in our body. We have the brain, we have the spinal cord. But as far as the nervous system is concerned, it has been further divided into like different types. Like the most common one that we talk about is the central nervous system, the CNS. Now, the central nervous system, it is what? It is basically, it is the part of the nervous system that is containing this thing, the brain and the spinal cord. Can you see the screen, students? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the human neural system, like I said, that it has certain divisions. So it has been divided on the two major categories. There is the CNS, that is central nervous system, and it contains the brain and the spinal cord. Then there is the PNS, that is peripheral nervous system. So it contains all of the nerves that are associated with the CNS, meaning obviously the information from the brain and the spinal cord, it wouldn't just fly, isn't it? It needs certain pipelines, just like how pipelines are there. So, same way, the nerves are there in our body. They do the exact same function of acting like a pipeline system. So, that actually becomes a part of the PNS, that is the peripheral nervous system. Now, under the peripheral nervous system, there is the afferent neuron and the efferent neuron, or the efferent and the afferent nerves. So, when we talk about the afferent nerves, so this one starts from the tissues or the organs and goes up until the central nervous system, meaning up until the brain or the spinal cord. But when we talk about the efferent, so it starts from the central nervous system, goes up until the tissues and the organs. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the PNS, that is the peripheral nervous system, it has been further divided into SNS and ANS. SNS is the somatic neural system. Somatic, you people remember, like somatic, remember that these are the cells that are body cells. And they are basically starting from the central nervous system going up until the skeletal muscles, that is like the part wherein all the activities or all the motions of the body take place. After that, there is the ANS, that is autonomic neural system or the nervous system. So, here CNS to the visceral muscles. Visceral muscles meaning the involuntary muscles of our body, that is not under our control. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now, this autonomic nervous system, the ANS, has been further divided into the sympathetic and parasympathetic neural system. The sympathetic one, it is different in terms of its action, and the parasympathetic one, it is different in terms of its action. When we talk about the sympathetic neural system, so here the neurotransmitter, now see, in our body, all the information that is sent, it it actually happens with the help of certain neurotransmitters that are there. Okay, now the neurotransmitters, they are extremely important as far as the transmission of the nerve impulses are concerned. So the neurotransmitter, these are basically chemicals. They vary from different systems of our body. So when we are talking about sympathetic neural system, so here the neurotransmitter is adrenaline or noradrenaline. Both of them are the same thing, adrenaline or noradrenaline. Then there is parasympathetic neural system. Here acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter. Now remember one thing, students, that the neurotransmitter is actually present at the ending of the neuron. Meaning neurons, they have a bulb-like structure at the end, and these neurotransmitters are actually present over there. Clear, students? Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
Okay, students, tell me one thing. Like, is this view better or is this one better?
The previous one, ma'am.
The previous one, this one is better?
Yes, ma'am. It's more clear.
Okay. Now moving forward, talking about the visceral nervous system. Now see, viscera.
Ma'am,
Viscera means, yes,
neurotransmitters are structures or are they chemicals which are
they are
released?
chemicals. They are chemicals which are released from the neuron. Like neuron, the endings of the neuron, I'm not able to show it because the internet connectivity. But see, the endings of the neuron, they have knob like structures. Knob means, like, imagine it like a bag like structure. So in the bag like structure, there is the presence of chemical, and that chemical is what we call as a neurotransmitter. So the neurotransmitters, they are of variety of types: acetylcholine, adrenaline, dopamine. There are many. So all of these are chemicals. So the sympathetic neural system, for them, the neurotransmitter is adrenaline, the hormone. And in the case of parasympathetic neural system, the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now, when we talked about the visceral nervous system, so this is the part of the peripheral nervous system that is mainly present towards the area which is the the smooth muscles, the visceral muscles, meaning they are not under our control. We can't control it in any way, shape, or form. So, it basically has the nerves, the fibers, the ganglia, then the plexus. All of these. Plexus is like the part where several neurons or the nerves meet. Okay, so here, with the help of all of these, the impulse means signal. So the signal would travel from the central nervous system, that is from the brain or from the spinal cord, up until the viscera, that is the body cavity of the organs. Like, the best example is intestine. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now talking about the structure of a neuron. So remember that the neuron is the structural and functional unit, and it will have three major parts: cell body, which is also known as a cyton. Then there is dendrites. These are branch like projections that come from the cell body. Then we have the axon. Axon is the long tail portion of the neuron. So, cell body or the cyton, dendrites, and axon, these are the parts of the neuron. Each of the parts have their own particular function to perform. Like, for example, when we talk about the cell body or the cyton, so it has all of the nucleus, the cytoplasm in it, and then the dendrites. Now, the dendrites, they are branch like projections that, imagine it like catching different impulses and bringing it to the cell body in the middle. And then from the cell body, the axon is connected, and the axon is going to carry it to another neuron. And then that neuron will give it to another neuron. So, in that way, the impulse will be sent from one neuron to another. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So, the cell body, it contains cytoplasm with a typical cell organelles and Nissel's granules. See, granular bodies, like tiny grainy stuff, they are present in the cell body, and we call them as the Nissel's granule. Now, from the cell body, there are the branch like dendrites, like I said. They also have the granules present on them, and they transmit the impulses or the signals towards the cell body, meaning they gather it from all the sides and they send it to the cell body. Talking about the axons, so the axon, it is a long fiber, and the distal end, it is branch. Distal means the back end side or the posterior end of it is branched, and each branch of the axon, it terminates in like a bulb-like structure. Remember, I was saying that a bulb-like structure was the ending, and that ending is called as the synaptic knob. And this synaptic knob, it contains the chemicals which we just talked about, the neurotransmitter. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts?
No.
All right. Now, the axon, they transmit the impulse away from the cell body. Okay, always away from the cell body to a synapse or a neuromuscular junction. Both of these, which I will explain later, but just for now, you understand that the signal, it will move away from the cell body. Now, talking about the types of this thing, neurons. Now, the neurons, depending upon how many axon, how many dendrites are present in them, the neurons are three major types: multipolar, unipolar, and bipolar. So when we talk about the types of neuron, the first one, multipolar, here one axon will be there, meaning one long straight portion, and two or more dendrites. This is the most common type of neuron in our body. We call it as multipolar. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Like it is present in a huge amount in the cerebral cortex of our body. So one axon and two or more dendrites are present. After that, there is the unipolar neuron. Uni means one. So here only one axon is there and that's it. No dendrite, no cell body, nothing. Only one axon is there. So we call it as unipolar. It just has one thing present. Where is it found? So it is found in the embryonic stage. It is not found in elder organisms or the one that are living on the land. It is found when the organism is present in as an embryo inside the mother. The last type of neuron is the bipolar neuron. Here, one axon and only one dendrite. Multipolar had one axon but two dendrites or more than two dendrites. But in bipolar, one dendrite, one axon. This one is found in the retina layer of the eye. So it is also found in our body and we call it as the bipolar neuron. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
The three types of neurons are clear to you, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, don't worry if you're not grasping it all at once. Okay, this is the first time I'm teaching you this. So I will show you the pictures of each of the types of neurons and whatever I've explained up until now. I will show you the pictures and the perfect demonstration. It's just that today only we are just compromising because, my laptop is getting frozen in the middle, right? The network is fine. It's my laptop that's not working properly. Okay.
Yes.
So don't worry. If you do not understand, I'll teach every single doubt yet again. So don't worry about that. So the multipolar, unipolar, and bipolar neurons are clear to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the axon, which is the longest portion of the neuron. Okay, so this axon can be further of two types: myelinated axon and non-myelinated axon. Myelin, see, myelin sheath you people understand, it's a layer. So if the axon has the myelin layer present on it, we call it as the myelinated axon. And if the axon does not have the myelin layer present on it, we call it as the non-myelinated axon. So these are the two types of axons that are there. Now, what is myelin? See, myelin is a lipid-rich layer, meaning it is made up of fats and it has a great insulation property. It can insulate, meaning it does not let the heat or anything to pass across. So that is the case of the myelinated axon. So the axon that is wrapped around with the myelin sheath, which is a lipid layer. So That is what we call as a myelinated axon. It is found in the spinal and the cranial nerves. So the nerves of the spinal cord, the nerves of our brain, they are myelinated, meaning they have a layer of myelin sheath present on them. So we call them as the myelinated axon. Then comes the non-myelinated axon. Now, the non-myelinated axon, this is where the myelin sheath will not be present. So, this is mostly found in the autonomous and the somatic nervous system. Okay, here there will be no insulating layer present on the axon, and meaning here the myelin sheath will be absent. So, this is the case of non-myelinated axon. Is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, furthermore, what happens is that while this particular myelin sheath is wrapping around the axon, so it is not entirely wrapped. There are certain places where the myelin sheath does not get wrapped, and that place is called as the node of Ranvier. Okay, here the myelin sheath is not present as such, because of which what is happening? Because of which the spaces are present, and we say that it is the node of Ranvier. It is the place where the gap is present between the myelin sheath. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
What about the others? Do you people have any doubts? Jesslyn, Jobita?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you people don't have doubts. So should I think that I teach very nicely that you people don't have any doubts? Or should I believe that you people are very genius? What should I believe? Tell me.
Ma'am, you teach very well.
I teach very well. So that is why you people don't have any doubts. Or is it the case like more study, more doubt, less study, less doubt, no study, no doubts? Is that the case?
No study, no doubt.
No study, no doubts. That is why you people don't have any doubts.
Ma'am,
No.
when I write, I remember. That's why. Now I'm understanding since you're saying it. That's it.
Okay. All right, students. See, even if you do have any doubts, please try to note it down somewhere in your notebook or anywhere else. And whenever you come in the class, try to utilize the time that you have. Okay, ask as much as doubts as possible. I'll clear your doubts. Okay, you shouldn't ask me how to write the answers and all of that. Like whatever help you need, ask it, because I won't know where you are lacking. The only person who can know where you are lacking will be you. So assess yourself and then come to me with your doubts. Okay. Now, see, as far as the notes are concerned, don't worry about them. Like now, from now on, after every class is done, you people will be receiving the handwritten notes. Okay. So these notes that I've taught you, the neural control and coordination, I'll send you the notes. Okay. And then you people can take it down in your notebooks.